Hey, what's up guys? John here. What's greedflation? Well, according to the Biden administration, it is where corporations become greedy and overcharge customers. And so a proposed solution right now is to enact price controls so that they can combat inflation. Remember, Joe Biden and Jerome Powell met just a few days ago, and they agreed that they need to do everything in their power to combat and to beat inflation. So what are they saying here? They're saying that interest rates are going to be going up and they need to pull back a little bit with consumer confidence, whether it be housing prices, stock market. They need to pull everything back to earth, right? And Joe Biden, he's committed to defeating inflation. So if you're going to defeat inflation because prices are too high, and they're talking right now price controls, and there's several bills right now with Congress, nothing's yet been signed by the White House, but it looks as though we are moving in this direction. This article is by New York Times, and when I look at New York Times, I wonder, who owns the New York Times? You would think maybe Carlos Slim, the richest man in Mexico. He is a large shareholder, and Jeff Bezos potentially, right? Because he does own the Washington Post. There's been rumors for years that Amazon purchasing the New York Times or vice versa, but nothing concrete has ever materialized, right? So they don't have any concrete information on if Jeff Bezos owns this. But what I find fascinating is that they say that the corporations are using their power to take advantage of the everyday American. I don't know if we all just forgot, but over 2 years, remember, these corporations were the essential businesses. Walmart, Target, Amazon, Walgreens. This is where you had to shop. They made you shop there. But small businesses, they were risky. You cannot support any small business. It's just not American. You can't do it. You got to go to the big corporation, sit in line at Walmart with 200 other people, right? Because it's for you. And so it's for everything, the best for you. And this is what they wanted. Now they're saying that this solution is to go after these companies, but here's how it's going to work. So is greedflation rewriting economics, or do old rules still apply? There are a few good things about living through a period with the highest inflation in 4 decades, but here's one. It's a chance to re-examine what's happened to our economy that's gone haywire. Since prices started to escalate a year ago, politicians and economists have seized on inflation to tell their preferred story about what went wrong. And the policies would bring it back into line. Some say it's very straightforward, supply and demand, right? Supply and demand, it's very straightforward. There's simply a lot of cash out there. In the pandemic stimulus, they're saying several trillions of dollars since 2020. The competition for those goods is up, and that's what's sending prices up. Whether we're talking about getting a Nissan Sentra or a seat on the American Airlines flight, maybe not, probably not, because gas prices also doubled. Wages are obviously going up, and Amazon, Walmart, Target, Home Depot, these large corporations have their own shipping and distribution. Meanwhile, the supply chain issues have been very challenging for a lot of small businesses. And they're paying 80% more than they were just 2 years ago to get items. So it's costing them more to get it here. It's costing them more for the labor. They have less customers, and gas prices are going up. Meaning it's costing them more to even, to do their job, to get it from the warehouse into their store to be able to sell it. It's just been much, much harder. So it's not just greedy little small companies, little mom and pop shops taking advantage. These corporations had the edge the whole entire time, right? The White House and progressive organizations, however, say, wait a minute, this time it's different. In an extraordinary disruption, they contend increasingly dominant corporations are taking the opportunity to jack up prices more than they otherwise could, which is squeezing consumers and supercharging inflation, or greedflation, as the hypothesis has come to be known. The argument comforts with the Biden administration's focus on the ills of economic concentration. Congressional Democrats have run with the idea of introducing bills that would impose a temporary excess profit tax on companies that charge prices they deem unreasonably high, or simply ban those high prices altogether. Critics, including the nation's largest business lobby, deride these efforts as based on conspiracy theory or a flimsy argument, right? So they're moving in this direction, right? They're moving in this direction to where they could tell people what is too high. How a free market works, how an economy works, or how it did work, is that the market was set by the buyer, always, never the seller. The seller could ask any price that they want, but the buyer had to be really ready, willing, and able to purchase that product, right? And they would have to value that product more than their fiat currency. And the more value that the customer saw, the more they're willing to trade their money in for it. right? Well, when the government gets in the middle of that and they say, no, I don't care how much you value this item, I don't care how much you're asking, I'll tell you who's in business and I'll tell you how much you're allowed to charge. That really does a couple things. One, it gives corporations, these large conglomerates, the opportunity in which they have less competition. So they have less competition, they can hire less people, right? Because they're gonna produce less, but if a lot of other people go out of business, they're gonna have all this cash. They're gonna be able to go out there and start buying all the assets, infrastructure, real estate. They can buy everything because there's gonna be so much distress in the market because small businesses aren't gonna have the pricing power and the opportunities to be able to meet the same prices like a Walmart. Imagine you open up a store and you wanted to sell t-shirts, right? And you were next door to Walmart, and you wanted to try to undercut Walmart. It might be kind of challenging, or you simply wouldn't stay in business because if you had to pay minimum wage and you live in Los Angeles, maybe it's 15, 18 bucks an hour. You had to do that with 5 or 6 employees. You had rent, you had utilities, but you didn't have the volume to keep in, to keep up with all of your debts and expenses and also pay yourself. You're going to go out of business, right? What's ultimately going to happen is if they move in this direction, and this is what they're saying. They said, for now, the stakes are more about public understanding of inflation rather than the government intervening to keep empanada prices low. They used a metaphor saying that, or they gave an example saying that, this is what a small business owner selling empanadas, if they increase their price, how many less people would be able to afford empanadas, and what we need to do to be able to make sure that everyone can afford empanadas. This was their example. The price gouging bills in Congress don't have the votes to pass, and the White House hasn't endorsed them, right? They said that right now it doesn't have the votes. That's what they're saying right now. It doesn't have the votes. Do we think it's never going to have the votes? I don't know. They've already recommended it. Elizabeth Warren has said that corporate greed is a very big problem. They've already kind of pursued landlords in a pretty big way, saying that, with eviction moratoriums and all these different things, all this intervention, do we think that if they're saying that record high inflation is coming, that they need to combat it, that they're not going to do whatever it's going to take in their eyes to do just that? I believe they're going to increase interest rates. I believe as they increase interest rates, more people are going to be in financial hardship. And as people are in financial hardship, they're going to demand solutions. And as they demand solutions, they're going to be able to supply those solutions, which likely will be some form of price control or some type of remedy to alleviate some of the pain felt in the overall market. And maybe in the short term, maybe there is benefits. Maybe people will see that. But 2 months in, 6 months in, a year in, the people are going to start to see the hell that they just walked them into. So we're stepping into some real uncertainty here in this economy. That's why I'm always advocating to make sure you have options. Options. That's the new wealth. That's the new currency, is options. Whether if you have a small business, you've probably been through a lot the last couple of years. If you have a small little duplex or triplex in Los Angeles or New York or Portland, one of these markets, you probably learned some very valuable lessons. Now, if you're an online business owner, this is a lesson to learn as well, because look at what's happened to the old business models when they would deem these businesses non-essential, or they would go through these hardships. These business owners, they would have never in a million years experienced or thought to experience anything like that they've already experienced. Now, these business owners are learning a hard lesson. So what is one of the key lessons here? It's to ideally have an online business, ideally have money come in, and then invest that money intelligently. Have capital, have cash reserves, have options. You want options. Because as the world gets crazier, you might want to pivot, right? That's why I think YouTube is great. I think an online business is great. I think having a great credit score to where you can accumulate debt to then be able to leverage into potentially distressed properties is great. If you can, if you know what you're doing and you buy the right deal, I think we're going to see real panic in this market. I really, really do. It's the only way. I mean, you look at large corporations, all the big corporations are all doing layoffs. They're all doing layoffs at the same time. And like 8 months ago, all the smartest people in the world were all selling stock. What are the odds that the smartest people in the world were selling stock 8 months ago? Now some of the smartest people right now are all issuing massive layoffs. At the same time, they're talking about increasing interest rates and pulling down the economy, pulling it back down to reality. Obviously, we're stepping into hard times. If you want to make money online, you want to invest in real estate when things hit the fan, you want to be a part of my community, join cashnow.video. Cashnow.video. You have bi-weekly calls with me. You're going to have access to my YouTube trainings as well as my cash flow rental blueprint, which gives 36 different bonuses plus many hours worth of content on real estate investing. Plus you're going to work directly inside of a private community in which everyone's on the same page as you. It's cashnow.video if you want to make money online and you need help. Also, we have a great credit repair team that focuses on credit rehabilitation. So if you need help with your credit, it's all included. It's like less than a cell phone bill. You can cancel anytime. My goal is to supply so much value and include new content every single month to where people would never want to quit, never want to cancel. They just want to stay on because they see the value as a no-brainer. They're making way more money being a part of cashnow.video than they could ever, on any other online platform. So cashnow.video if you want to make money online. What's happening now is insane. What's happening right now is insane in this economy. I honestly think we're only headed in one direction. This economy is just going to get crazier and crazier and crazier. What do you think happens next? Drop your comments below. Hit the like button. Subscribe. You're also subscribe to my second YouTube channel. It's going to be an interactive show and a podcast. Hopefully tomorrow. I'm waiting on a couple things to come in the mail. So hopefully tomorrow. And the link for that is down below. And then LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everything else is in the banner. I'll catch you guys later.